and we've democratized all the technology, availability, emotional tools. Everything has been completely leveled.
When you go against that understood cultural pain point, you will have a consensus of people that will come and support it.
If you're aware of that cultural narrative, okay, well, what does it look like to do the opposite?
Welcome to the Brandfathers.
There are a million things happening in marketing right now. Campaigns, acquisitions. This week we are going to identify 10 key campaigns and trends that align with them that are worth knowing if you are a brand trying to figure out what you're going to do the back half of the year or plan 26, or if you are a marketer who wants to stay on exactly what is happening in the world. We're going to cover everything from streaming university to acquisitions of D2C brands and the impact TikTok shop has on that, to all of these little micro campaigns, live events, new social trends that are going to define what marketing looks like for the rest of the year. Gentlemen, how are you doing? You ready to dive in?
We're so ready. We're about to partake in our coffee, and we're getting ready. Yeah, let's do it.
Go. But before we start, Ashwin, you were at a convention yesterday, correct?
I was at a panel yesterday.
Yes.
A conference.
And so I saw Seth Godin. Was he there to see you, or were you there to see him?
You know, there was another guy in the audience who looked exactly like Seth Godin, and everyone was going up to him. He had like bright green glasses on too. Everyone was going up to him like trying to take pictures, and he's like, "I'm not Seth Godin."
Yeah, you should probably swap the shirt. It does bring up the trademark. I feel like Jordan kind of has a trademark. We get the backwards hat. He kind of has the look. I feel like Ashwin, you and I probably need to consider face tattoos, red glasses. You know, we need the Seth Godin purple cow moment.
You know, I was doing glasses consistently when I started my content. And I wear glasses, but then I started swapping to contacts. I feel like I need
the cat eye contacts.
A signature look. You know, we got Jordan, we have Bima in the all purple and the bucket hat. Yeah. But you and me are changing it up too much.
Exactly. So we'll workshop that in the personal brand pod that's coming 2 weeks from now.
Actually, I think ChatGPT imaging has you as like a golden Gandhi. Ashwin,
yeah, ChatGPT has Ashwin like real swole. So I think maybe that's the answer is a couple cycles of anabolics.
That's true.
Or it's gonna go Silo Bloom on the chat, you know.
Or it's got you as like a British drill rapper who's like 16 years old in the streets.
ChatGPT would be doing me dirty, doing Ashwin real right. But Ashwin, have you considered anabolic steroids, or is that not part of it?
I'm looking into it for the summer, absolutely.
In fact, the Brandfathers are getting up there as fathers, and we're brought to you by the new testosterone clinic. Just kidding.
Well, this is actually a good segue into the enhanced games, which is like one of the Subway. Well, maybe we'll just kick right into to start it. Is I saw this picture on Twitter of one of these swimmers, where it was like, here's the swimmer in like normal shape, and then here's the swimmer as he gets ready to do the enhanced games, which is the games where it's okay to do steroids, and then you win an award as long as you break a world record. And this dude looks like a mutant. It was absolutely.
We got to pull that up.
It was
Joe Pompliano tweeted it.
It's funny. Have any of you guys been following the prolonged downfall of Liver King? I mean, he is still making content about how he was outed for taking steroids, and it's like, I don't know that anyone cares anymore.
Yeah. Here we go. We got it.
Yeah. So let's see.
Look at that neck, bro.
There is no way that man could swim any faster.
I don't know. I bet my guy is going to shave some seconds. You know what I mean? This is a unit.
The only thing that guy's shaving seconds off of is his life, bro, and it's closer to years.
To tie this back to, just so you guys don't think this is entirely going to become a peptides chat, although if you want that, feel free to drop that in the comments. I do think this is like a good example of just like the spectacle culture of like, cool, you could show like if you're a brand or you're whoever, and like, yeah, we're going to show swimming and the enduring story of a child that came from a broken home and now enters the Olympics. Like that was the previous generation. The new generation is the dude who says juiced on his chest and having the actual breakdown. But my friend Hunter commented on this, something I think is actually really valid, is that what people really want is that when he swims and they show that picture on the games or whatever, is the stack, is like the educational content next to it where it's like, and he's on peptide 456 PPD, and I think that would actually hammer as content.
If you look in the response to that tweet, actually, it's the Enhanced Games who are incredibly active here on Twitter, and they did have someone who broke the record. So they basically said that you get $1 million prize if you broke the record on any of these like competitive formats. So this dude has the world record has been broken, and the first $1 million check has been rewarded. So like the enhanced games, 30,000 followers, they're the future of sport, an open celebration of science and human enhancements. The enhanced games, to me, I was like, what? Isn't that just called the Olympics? I mean, at this point, they're so prolific. If people don't know.
So what's the deal here? Can you take any drugs and then compete?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
you can
think
do
so.
whatever. You can go up to the line, fresh off the dust, whatever it is you want to do, and like as long as you break the world record, you get that milli.
This is extremely interesting.
It's just tech inspired. It's like Peter Thiel, right?
I'm not sure, but I do think it's like it's perfect for today's day and age, which is the spectacle. Like, how crazy can we get? This is controversial. Draw attention to it.
Yeah, this is literally Peter Thiel as one of the investors. This is going to the moon. This goes to the moon.
Well, it's interesting spectacle. I don't know if the big television networks or whatnot would pick it up and give you big ad revenue for that, but it will crush on social if they can do
And
interesting
so,
things.
speaking of crushing on social, I know we're tangenting away from where our itinerary was, but I want to share this other content that I've been talking about a lot with clients that Bape Europe is doing. That reminded me of this, of like spectacle content, where it's basically like a sporting event. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Shout out to homie Ali on here. But basically, Bape Europe is doing these videos where you have a X amount of time. They have a 2-minute timer on the top right. They give them a prompt, and they have to go through the Bape Europe store and pick out clothes to then like make a fit. And they're tracking it with, you can see with these graphics, where they'll like have like there'll be a percentage, there'll be a pop-up, there's the timer, and then people will wait to the end to see like the full outfit that gets put together. And they bring in multiple people to do it. And then the comments are going nuts because people like ignore the instructions or they don't like whoever's style. And if it's a celebrity, it's all their fans. But I do think this era of like, this is so smart with like the trigger for like, okay, I'm just going to wait. It's only 49 more seconds till the end. What's he going to do? I don't see a result. Graphics are popping up left and right. There's stats on the board. I think that we're in for a whole generation of content like that here shortly.
What is the prompt like? You have to make a fit that's 51% Navy or something? What's
Yeah,
the
exactly. Like, and they're giving him, and then they have like he's on there, and we know him because he's like a prolific Instagram guy. But there's like also like there'll be a celebrity, there'll be a whatever, and they've done like 10 or 20 of these. But they're putting up like let me take a quick look just so we can see. Bape Europe only has 155,000 followers, so they're still like lightweight. But yeah, 300, 230, 500, and even the bad ones like 100, 150. That's just kind of spread throughout 780. Like, so they've got a decent amount. They've only kind of just started it. They don't do a ton of content. They're doing like one of those every week or so. But I think that's this new, competition-based content is something easy tie into that.
Yeah, totally. That will crush, and the wackier the person and the fits, the better.
But popping over into our normal actual list here, I want to talk about acquisitions. Ashton, do you want to lead this one off?
Yeah, so I think the topic of this week and probably the past month is all of the crazy acquisitions as well as investments and insane valuations across the world of CPG. So we have the biggest one, which is Rhode Beauty. Hailey Bieber's skincare brand was bought for $1 billion. They launched in 2022, so like a three and a half year old brand. We have David Barr's just raised $75 million at a $750 million valuation. They launched last year. Grüns raised at a $500 million valuation. Poppy was purchased for $1.6 billion. And so everyone is talking about this, and like they have good numbers to support. I think Rhode was did $200 million in the last year. But I think if you look at just all of the revenue numbers for these brands, a lot of people in the market are like, no, the multiples on this are so crazy. Like how, what is going on here? Like we know other beauty businesses that don't trade near this multiple. And I think there are like great wins in the consumer space, but one thing that I feel is kind of like missing in this conversation is just how they have built an incredible amount of like cultural relevancy and velocity very quickly by having very strong social presences. So let's take David Barr, for example, right? David Barr, they claim they're on track to do $150 million this year in revenue, which is their first full year in business.
Profitably.
Maybe.
I think they said they are cash flow positive.
Wow, interesting. So if we look at David Barr, so when David Barr, number one, they're all over TikTok. They're just like gifting product left and right. They have a lot of people who are in the health, fitness, nutrition space talking about their product, all putting up like a sizable amount of views. So the first thing is like, there's just now this like immediate awareness of what David is, right? You have this happening where maybe you have 200-300 content creators each month getting product, making videos about it. Like that adds up in terms of awareness and impressions pretty quickly. But early on, right out of the gate, they got on TikTok Shop and they were going live 4 hours a day. Mary Ruth's Organics goes live for 21 hours a day. And the just absolutely preposterous. But one of the byproducts of having some velocity on TikTok Shop and having all of this awareness is that you get this halo effect that spans to Amazon, and it pulls in a lot of retail players asking for your product. On this note, I was talking to this candy brand, Behave, which was, they've been around for like 5 or 6 years now. And the founder of that brand, Mesa, she was talking about how they've started getting a lot of traction on TikTok Shop. They've had some videos go viral. And she was like, we struggled for the past 2 years to like pitch like Sprouts and Whole Foods and all of these players. Now the buyers from those companies are reaching out to us directly. We were stocked in Sprouts. We sold out in 2 weeks what Sprouts thought would take us 12 weeks to sell. And that's just because we are creating this awareness on TikTok, really just like TikTok. And it's driving all of this retail pull. That's all to say, when we look at Poppy, David, Grunes, etc., it's like, yeah, in and of itself, those brands aren't insanely remarkable from the product standpoint, all in this kind of like commodity space. But what they are doing is like building relevance and awareness in a way that just a lot of brands in their categories are not.
The David's relevance and the TikTok Shop connection, I think, is a really important thing to note, because David is built on a value proposition. Calories to protein ratio is simply better than any other product out there. And TikTok Shop is an amazing place if you have a product selling point like that anyone can reinforce, because you'll notice they put a good commission structure out there. People notice that they sell, and so they had thousands of creators. And I mean, like, people don't understand the velocity on TikTok Shop. Like, we could pull open Kalo data, but I imagine that they are at least 5,000 posts a month from affiliate, which means, like, when you break that down, is what, 200 a day? 144 a day that they are getting from affiliates. And TikTok juices the algorithm, but you're leading with the pain point. All of those videos are either, I've seen 2 types of David videos. I can't believe there's this much protein. Let me taste test it. Oh, this is now on sale. This will never be a lower price, right? Those are kind of like the two items. But when you actually get in that conversation of what those posts get you, like a metric that a lot of bigger brands look at when they seed or do influencer is EMV, or earned media value. And you can basically get to a certain level by giving people product, but you are basically getting that and making sales at the same time by doing TikTok Shop and getting the lift that Ashwin talked about. And the trajectory, when you come hard out the gate with that, of like how much attention you can get, is something that brands still have not caught on to. And I also don't think from this announcement they're going to even understand, because they're just going to be like, oh, David Barr, founders of whatever retail, they're not going to understand the power that TikTok Shop had inside of this.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, still think that TikTok Shop is not being discovered or talked about enough, like the potential of it. And I'm sure there's a lot of flops, but this is a great example of the platform is incentivized to get it in front of people. The creators then get incentivized because they can earn a commission on the product. And so it's like that built-in affiliate model.
And you can track the money you make from the program at the same time. It's like the fucking biggest win-win-win scenario of all time.
It is. It's so crazy. And it does create some, like, weird bad incentives. Like, we had the Lucky F Energy marketing team on before, and they're now getting in my algorithm because I followed them, and they're on TikTok Shop now, but people are juicing that thing. And, you mentioned, Oren, like, the call to action is like, this will never be cheaper than ever. And I do see that a lot of people on TikTok Shop are just constantly hammering that, oh my God, this is so cheap right now. You have to get it right this second. It's sort of like the modern day infomercial.
Yeah, but also when you go into all these TikTok Shop creators, the majority of them run through a training program. I run a training program, obviously with Cut 30, but it's not a TikTok Shop training program. But a lot of people who are in it have either done one or then go do one. People like will continue like their journey, and they teach you how to do this, right? They're basically like, is there a strong value proposition? Is there a price thing? Like, these are your these are like the pillars you can use for your TikTok Shop hooks. And it makes sense because that's what people want. And look, I look at David Barr, like, if I buy David Bars, like, have bought them before. If I look at it on TikTok Shop and I'm like, oh, this is $6 cheaper than it is in the store, even though $6 makes no intrinsic difference to me in my life, I'm still gonna be like, this is human nature that's being played to.
For sure. It also brings the other thought to mind that, like, we're gonna talk about another fitness brand, but is fitness like the new sport? Like, fitness just has such a large swath, and it is the place where you can cut through as a smaller brand. This niche, like, is just socially native. They're constantly in front of a selfie camera. David Bars, Gymshark,
Yeah, oh, I think we are people don't understand. I think what Gen X and above are missing is that millennials and below are in the best shape of any generations have ever been in. That people are consumed with fitness, actually working out, understand. I talk about this all the time. So I'm like, look, when I was playing high school sports, it was like eat a bowl of pasta to carbo load before you do this. That was the level. If someone had been like, your only focus as a 16-year-old boy is to get 200 grams of protein and everything else you do and you're going to be a monster, I would have been a literal monster, right? They have so much education, so much better on there. And so I do think this is like a key cultural tenet that is just a shift that like on an executive level, a lot of people don't understand. And this is a good segue to the BPN Endurance Race. Jordan, maybe you're the best one to give a breakdown of this.
I may or may not be. I know BPN. I've done a little bit of consulting with them. They're based out of Austin, and they're one of these founder-led brands, similar to Marcus Milioni that we had with Minted New York a couple weeks ago. So Nick Bear runs BPN Sups, and they've moved into this kind of like hype. The fitness world is fascinating to me and all the little subsets, but there were like gym bros, big gym bros, and then there was like CrossFit, and then there was like endurance. And so now there's this hybrid athlete that they've basically gone all into. And I think it's following Nick's preferences, but they're basically people who lift regularly and want to stay strong, but also do like heavy endurance stuff. Our other creator friend, Zach Progob, he was a part of this race, I think. So
yeah, well,
I don't know.
What's really interesting is there was a huge media moment around it, where basically they did this race and they put out some ungodly amount of content. They had all these creators and people running in the race who were streaming it and who were like creating that content flywheel of having like basically posting so much about it that other people were tuning in. And basically they, as a small brand, did an event and created like a massive EMV moment, like millions and millions of views across individuals, like, and their own stuff from doing this like competition that for all intents and purposes should be done by a major sports league or a huge brand, is being executed by like a backyard influencer brand, which is not doing them justice, but like just to set the stage of the contrast.
Yeah, well, the two common themes that we have here with the David Barr and this is like incentive structures are aligned, So you have creators, they offered up some prize pool, I believe, and honestly, then the content just got even more compelling, which is where it showed up on my radar. There was a giant tornado and hailstorm that blew in during the middle of the night during them like running, and so you have all this content of the like lightning striking, them trying to get everybody off the course. And it made for high drama.
They did 30 million plus views on this across all the different stuff. They had invited ultra marathoners and marathoners, said you can stream and make content while you're going. They had people take over their stories. They had like people kind of like moving like side to side through the stuff. They were live streaming the ends of these laps and like responses, and those were getting up to 20,000 viewers like on the live streams. And there was just a lot of personalities and all this media happening at the same time. And it's just a really good example of like, you don't need to be a massive brand to create a moment, like a real moment.
I also think when you look at that, I mean, he was doing it in what is presumably like some land that he owns, and there wasn't this fancy setup. It's just like you're going to run this 4-mile lap and then they have some tents, but it's not like this massive.
Yeah, there was less production than a Spartan race, which is saying something,
Yeah. And so you think about like, okay, as a brand, brands will be like, oh, we got to go to Expo West and we're going to spend $50K for a booth and $20K for a slot and like all of this money to get people out there. I would not be surprised if they put on that entire event and experience for under 100K.
100K, yeah.
Yeah.
Say it's 100, say it's 150.
Yeah.
It's amazing. A trade show booth cost, right? Not even a great trade show booth. And it's just that, actually this ties really well into, Ashwin, you made a video about your favorite band, the All American Rejects, Swing Swing from the Table Side. My heart is stopped by a former love. And you want to break down of what they've been doing?
Yeah. So the All American Rejects have been going on a backyard tour. They've been doing these pop-ups. So first started with, I think they did a house party at USC and that went super well. They had a ton of like kids come out, and then you can kind of get a sense of it here. And that went super well. And then a ton of people were commenting like, hey, when can you come to my college? When can you come to my school, my city? And so these guys have a new song that they are debuting. They said, okay, we're doing it independently. So what if we kind of say like, fuck you to like Ticketmaster and like the traditional like, institutions and industry here, and then do all of these like pop-up concerts across the country into some of these like flyover places or places that big musicians are not really going, and then just do $5 concerts. And what I think is so smart about this is not only just the immense amount of like earned media value that they're getting from all these like kids showing up like day of when they announce and making these TikToks that are going viral because All American Rejects is in your backyard. They're charging like $5 per ticket, but to get notified as to when they're going to show up in your area, you click through to their link tree, and then you have to text them your phone number, and then you also
all the typical band shit. Now you're in the zone back again.
You have to choose their streaming platform, and then you have to like pre-save the songs that are coming up. And I said like I wouldn't be surprised if they got like 500,000 to 1 million like subscribers off of this. And someone who's like managing this tour for All American Rejects popped in the comments and was like, "Yeah, that's about right." So
the dirty little secret here, I'm just going to keep throwing all
that. Well played. Keep going.
Is you can just make your own spectacle, and you don't even have to produce it. Others will produce it for you. That's why I love the brilliance of this. Is the virality comes from the kids that are going to the house party or who are at the show. Have an outside, like All American Rejects didn't even have to make a video. The kids can make the videos for them. And I dropped in the chat just now something similar Toblerone did with this. It was this thing called Tantrum Girl, where this girl threw a fit inside like Heathrow or one of these UK airports. I don't know. I don't talk about the old country much.
Gatwick or Heathrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of those, one of the crumbling parts of the English Empire, the British Empire. But she basically was freaking out that she couldn't get a Toblerone. And Toblerone didn't film it. They just relied on the fact that other people now will whip their phones out and film some child freaking out, which is dark in its own way, to then create this moment. And then they acknowledged a couple weeks later that it was staged. But like, this is the era. This is why I feel like the takeaway is from the All American Reject side is like, you can go, as long as you make a viral enough thing or an interesting enough thing, you don't have to have some huge expenditure. You don't have to go all through traditional media. That's point A. And point B is that the media will get made for you. Brands are so obsessed with, we need to make the content. And it's like, guess what? Your top of funnel, organic, may never compete with the top of funnel of the global TikTok community. And you should leverage that. And both BPN and this really nailed that.
Yeah, if you build it, they will come and they will share it.
There was I don't know if you remember this, but last year there was some brand that did like an influencer event or pop-up at like some big broader like activation. There was this like one sign posted there that was like, influencers with over 1 million followers like this way, go this way. And like the amount of like influencers who shared that photo with like the branding of the main beauty brand in the back was incredible. Like they got more attention off of that little thing than they did like the overarching big activation and big booth. And so it's thinking about things that are like those small things that you know are just gonna like get coverage, and you can kind of like stage it or kind of reverse engineer it to some degree.
Yeah, I think you could crush nowadays if you were just like girls under 5'10" this way.
Yeah.
Over 5. Anyway, just throwing it out there for brands. Don't take my advice.
Maybe for the next Valuable Studios. No, maybe Valuable Studios will do that next for him.
All right, so we are moving from there to let's hit to Streamers University. So speaking of the grassroots, so we've covered now.
Wait. Hold on, sorry. I just wanted to call out the best thing about All American Rejects that I just want to remind people is sometimes the best marketing campaigns are built in.
They give you hell? Sorry.
No.
Gotta stop.
I had no idea you had such a deep well.
I have a well of all pop culture knowledge. You could do this with almost any.
The lyrics are incredible. You're really taking me back. Is that people are extremely frustrated and annoyed. Even the artists hate Ticketmaster. And Ash, when you brought this up when we were prepping on this call, is like people are so tired of Ticketmaster and all of the hoops you have to jump through to get to be a part of your artist. I think these dudes just went completely the opposite. And when you go against that understood cultural pain point, you will have like a consensus of people that will come and support it. You know, Pure Sport tapped into that with influencer seating kits, and we see good examples of that will really resonate.
A little bit awkward, but we're going to announce our new sponsor, Ticketmaster. Sorry. If you want your concert experience ruined by fees that weren't shown in the title price and an experience that is both hard to cancel and hard to interact with a mobile app that's terrible, Ticketmaster.
I think that On that point, like there's also, so yes, Ticketmaster is like this big like evil empire, but then there's also Coachella, which happened last month, and then the big news story around that was like, oh, people are like financing their Coachella tickets, like it's gotten so expensive. So I think if you're aware of that, like kind of like cultural like narrative, or like, hey, that's happening, and then you look at that and you're like, okay, well, what does it look like to do the opposite? And it's like, well, the tickets won't be $600 for the day pass or the weekend. It'll be $5, and it won't be at this like Palm Desert or whatever. It'll be in Des Moines.
This is this bigger cut down. This is the cultural shift that's happening that anyone who realizes can make more money than they've ever dreamed of. When if you just cut out all the things that you were supposed to look at, if you go right to, if you hire the creator to make the content versus the advertising firm that was just going to outsource 3 layers down and make something not as good as the creator, they're going to make more money than they would make any other way. You are going to spend less money and get more result for your business. And the same thing happens on touring. The same thing happens in everything. And we've democratized all the technology, all the availability, all the promotional tools, all of that. Like, everything has been completely leveled as far as a playing field. And anyone who realizes that, that's why all these people are getting so much money. All these creators are having they're just cutting out this middle layer of corporate profit, which I think is an amazing thing and is something that all of us should be looking at how we capitalize on.
Yes, it's incredible.
The death of PR agencies. Sorry.
Man, I still get to, it's funny. I get, I'm sure y'all do too, like the PR agency pitch being like, oh, like make a video about like this. And I'm just like, yeah, like you guys know how this works, right? Yeah, like, and they do, but they're just still sending out the intern level pitch, and they're still getting. I go into all these brands and we'll audit their marketing stuff. They're still being, oh, well, the 15K PR retainer, and I'm like, all right, so what was that money to go spin up TikTok shop or make better social content? Like, it's sitting right there.
All of this is the common theme of like, just question the standard traditional playbook, because it's changing, and sometimes you could do the complete opposite and you will have much greater results.
The best is when I go, this happens mostly with bigger companies now, so I think we've jumped the shark, but you'll go and you'll be like, oh, you're still doing like ad buys and programmatic ad buys and stuff that's on like news sites.
Sorry, PR agencies outside are not happy.
Yeah. Shadow PRs outside. Yeah. All right, but moving into the next line, Streamers University. So I want to talk about this briefly. So set some context here. Cenat, we've talked about this before, and this kind of a streaming evolution. He created a college basically, and I got either 100 or 150 aspiring streamers came to a multi-day training to learn how to be better streamers, and he got a bunch of his streamer buddies to do different classes. And this was a big promoted thing. It was promoted just as much as one of his streams in the Batcave or 30 Days or whatever. But it's educational, which is obviously something that speaks to us as educational kind of creators in general. But to teach people how to do streaming, to which there is no guide. We've talked about this before, about how there is no guide to being a professional influencer in the kind of spaces we do. We are making it up. It's why our group chat is so important, so we can leverage each other's ideas. He is sharing the sauce, right? And then helping bring up those other streamers underneath it. But one of the things I wanted to call out in particular, and I'm sure you guys have some other takes on this, is one of the classes inside Streamers University done by Agent, who's like another prolific streamer, was about getting brand deals and getting paid. And Agent went and actually got brands to be like, hey, we're going to give your first brand deal to you, to the streamers in Streamers University. And it was Base Luggage, influencer brand, so it makes sense. Moon, which is like a cosmetic. Some, third brand, which I don't remember. But exactly. There's $5,000 for 3 of them.
Odell Beckham Jr.
And it's just like, this is what's interesting, is I'm like, if I was a brand, I would have been so on top of being the brand deals like inside this Streamers University, because no one understands live streaming. Everyone's going to be into
And he said it was for $5,000. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you know how many like hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people you're reaching with this right
just
here?
By being on this slide and being on the, like, even just being in that conversation, and also just being for those, the 100 streamers in that room, all of whom, let's say 75% of them are going to have a massive leg up on everybody else because they were just on a Cenat stream, right? To then be like, oh, this is one of the brands I should try to work with, right? And then work through that, because this ties to this bigger trend that's been coming up a lot when I talk to brands, is about like finding influencers within your, like, now that, look, we all have lots of followers, but we all know that following is leveled, right? You can get the same amount of views with 500K as you can with 100K, right? Like it's more about what the algorithm sees. It's about the quality of the content. The following count matters way less. It's really just a credibility builder more than anything else, or like basically a barometer of cultural resonance more than it is a barometer of performance. You add that into this and you go, all right, like, we want to find people in our community, or people that are new at this, and then be the first people to embrace them and then reap the benefits of that. And I think that's important. Like, I have a super soft spot in my heart for Timberland, who's my first brand deal for $1,500. We'll always shout them out. My first real recurring brand deal, I have them at the same price I had them like 2 years ago, is because they've done well by me. They've done a video with me like every 6 weeks for months, for years now. And so I do think that getting people when they're small and then having opportunities like Streamers University is a massive thing to think about. And so I wanted to see what y'all thoughts were.
Absolutely. I do just, yeah. The teaser video for that Antonio was showing was shot by Gibson Hazard, who's a director. One of my last Hail Mary claim to fames at Nike football was getting Gibson Hazard like right before he exploded to direct. He had done all these like music videos and stuff. And I was like, hey, would you want to do sport? Like, I DM'd him on Instagram. I'm like, would you have any interest in doing sport? Like, I just think you would crush it. And turned out he was a college baseball player and like loved Nike and crushed. Did the highest performing Nike football video we've ever had done. So shout out to Gibson Hazard, who's been exploding.
And that's another good one of like, if you were terminally online, as soon as you saw that first video, I forget who it was, if it was the Migos or Wiz Khalifa, whoever that was, his first Gibson Hazard music video, you were like, this guy's going to be somebody. And so if you were just go there and identify that, that's a thing. Yeah.
Totally. But yes, you should absolutely be tapping in when these people are early. I do want to talk about following versus performance, but Ashwin, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there is one that I'm trying to pull off right now with a creator who I'll give it a deep dive once we actually do it, because I think it's going to happen in a couple of weeks. But there's this creator who is in a maybe has a couple 100,000 followers. He has a great format and a great series. He's not really doing any brand deals because it's kind of like preposterous concept that he has. But I looked at him and I'm like, he's getting great engagement on this. Like, is there a way to like get our brand like involved in some way that like it's one part of his overarching narrative? And so we've been talking, negotiating a deal, and I think there is something potentially very interesting to come from that. But there are like, anytime I see a creator in a tangential space, like I think what the mistake that brands often make is like, hey, if I am David Barr, I need to exclusively find people in like health, fitness, and nutrition to like, be an influencer, give them product and make content about this. But I think there's so many other interesting ways where if you find a creator who has like one really unique style or series, there's a way to tap into them, even if it's completely unrelated. So one that caught my attention this past week, and I happened to do work with Frida, is like, here's this nail art company, this woman who does like really interesting nail art, and Frida partnered with her and they made this.
It's incredible art. Whoa. 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 If you're listening today, we are seeing a person construct. Wow, incredible! Oh my gosh, it just keeps keeps getting crazier. Ashwin, do you want to play by play? What am I watching here? This nail artist has constructed acrylic nails of a Frida baby taking a bath in a bath with a working shower over the nails. That was incredible.
Exactly. No, that's a great voiceover, and that's exactly what we saw. 12 million views there. They did
12 million.
Yeah, 12 million, 300,000 follow, 300,000 here. They reposted it to the Frida account. Didn't do that well, but like got some serious traction. And that is exactly this type of concept of like, hey, we have this like format and style. Whoever's following this person, sure, they're there for the art and they're there for like the really, really like unique attention to detail and so on. But that doesn't mean there aren't like mothers watching this. There aren't like to-be parents. There's not like dads watching this. It's such a wide audience. And when you just look through this like narrow aperture of like, oh, I need to find parents who only make parent content, kind of limits you in terms of what you can do. Whereas here they found this like really cool and creative opportunity. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got a lot more lift and reach and awareness than, hey, I'm going to go partner with like the biggest mom influencer who's going to charge me $300,000 to make a
I
TikTok.
think it's why it's good to think outside the space too, because everyone's so locked in on the space. Like a good example of this is the Elf Cosmetics Sailing with Phoenix thing that happened. So I think everyone's been following the journey of this guy who like quit his job sporadically in Oregon, gained 1 million followers, whatever, and decided to sail to Hawaii, and seemed like he may not make it because he didn't seem the most stable. But Elf, noted, we talked about them before when they acquired Rode, sent him like a care package, and look, Elf is a budget cosmetics company, right? There is a not what you think would be sponsoring the boat trip to Hawaii, but them just knowing that this is a cultural moment that they should capitalize on is, and that even though that's outside of their niche, I think is a interesting and important piece of this.
Did they give like a SPF or something like for him?
they
No,
gave
they
him
just shot them like snacks and all kinds of shit.
Which was great, which is exactly like was the right move. And he mentioned at the end of this video, like, hey, I have a live stream with them that I'm doing once I land in Hawaii. So I'm sure it's like this multi-pronged campaign. But I believe like his PR, like social manager, reached out to 20 brands, and like Elf was the only one that bit. And it's like, sure, yeah, there's like this logistics of like, all right, he's in the ocean, we have to like rent a plane, we have to like do a drop. But like, I don't know, just get one person on it. They can figure that out in under 24 hours. It's not that hard.
I think that Elf is terminally online in their marketing. I think they hit him. The cosmetics industry, like the level to which some of these people do, like Elf has like they have like they're doing NASCAR. They are doing so many like ultra viral stuff like at all times that I think they literally have a team. Like I don't know if you saw, like they had like they had Rebecca Black as a voiceover of a horse for a one-trick pony. Like they are doing like high-level viral stuff at all times. And I think it's just one of these examples. And I know this, like when I was talking to the CMO of L'Oreal, I think I brought before at South by Southwest, it's like they have like teams that are like focused on like what is happening in culture and how do we play into it, even if it isn't exactly connected to the brands. And I think Alpha is the same way, where if you get into this rhythm of we're so connected to what's happening, the ripple effects like organically are huge, especially when there's multiple of those things. Like they're literally going from, we announced this thing with a pony, the pony's voice ended up being Rebecca Black, into NASCAR, into dropping off, like sailing, like that. That's like buying road. That's a 3-week window for fucking Elf, like, and that's the level you have to play at. Like I've talked about this before when I was talking about maybe a year or two ago about Skims, like announcement cadence, about how many campaigns and announcements and things they do. I think people don't understand the velocity that can happen with a brand once you're locked in and you're actually realizing like what you can contribute to. I think is way higher than most people think it is.
Yeah, being able to ride those waves, like you can't hit everyone, but if you're like,
but we're like another campaign 2 days later, another a week later. It's not like we're waiting. It's these two big seasonal announcements and our big launch. It's like the next campaign. Oh, we just did the Sailing with Phoenix thing. I guarantee Elf has something locked and loaded. I actually just got a pitch from a PR company about something else they did. Like they have something locked and loaded for next week.
What do you think that PR company was on for $15,000 a month?
More.
Guaranteed.
We are rounding out our sort of event marketing section here. I think we have Waterboy up next.
Yeah, so I'll touch on Waterboy quickly. Waterboy is a hydration brand that has had a great TikTok presence, like since their origin. They've been like kind of like founder led. Now they're like team led, have a rotating cast of characters here. They sell in retail. Now they are doing a brand trip, and when we talk about like brand and influencer trips, traditional model is like, let's go bring Alex Earl, let's go bring like all these big influencers, pay them a lot, fly them out on a private jet, do this whole like Tart Island type experience. The read on like TikTok, if you pay attention to like anything happening in the comments, people are just like getting a little fatigued with just like influencers getting free shit all the time and like being paid a lot by these big brands. And the top comments on all of these posts will always be like, wow, would be nice if like one of these brands invited their customers at some point. And so Waterboy's like, yeah, we understand that's the case. So here's what we're doing. We're doing a trip in Tulum, and we're inviting our customers. We're also inviting like some influencers. They're not huge, they're not tiny, but like they're very relevant on TikTok. And what we're
so yes, all three of us will be in Tulum. It has been confirmed.
I hit Waterboy. I'm like, great stuff with the campaign. Let me come down there and cover it.
Yeah, I speak
Waterboy,
Spanish.
we think this is amazing, Waterboy. This is absolutely incredible.
What do you think about the Brandfathers doing live coverage of the trip? We could probably swing that. So who knows? Stay tuned. We might be in Tulum. So what they did is like they had this great announcement video, and they're like, listen, to apply, all you have to do is make a video telling us why you like Waterboy and why you want to come. And this is a strategy that I have seen since like 2019 on TikTok, is using UGC as an application method, right? It's not filling out a form. It's not emailing us. It's not like drop a comment, like, and follow, which was the old model. Now they're saying, hey, make some content, show us, bring some creativity. And they had, I think, about 600 applications. So now 600 videos have been made about Waterboy, where many of them are getting over 1 million views because people are getting super creative, where they're like, hey, I'm like doing this painting of why I want to go, like why I love Waterboy. And this is going to be me and the mascot in Tulum. Or like, hey, I bake cookies, so I'm going to make like custom Waterboy cookies. Well, so Waterboy gets all this
Incredible.
earned media value, but then they take the top 10 videos that are the finalists and then they repost them to their feed, getting like more promotion for it. And then they tell their community, hey, you guys vote on this and you let us know like whichever one gets like the most views and most engagement, we're going to invite this person on the trip. So they do that. Then the way that they partner with their influencers is they tell their influencers, hey, when you make a video saying you're going on this trip, you can invite someone from your audience plus one of their plus ones. So you pull in their community from that audience. So it's like they're getting so much reach for this. It's very well executed. We'll see how it turns out. But it's like, okay, great. This is smart. They kind of like read the room. They're getting a lot of coverage from it, and I'm sure that they're going to make great content when they actually do go on the trip.
So the influencer gets to reward someone from their audience.
Correct.
And a +1.
Correct.
Which is smart. Again, they're just enabling this. This is a map. You could just map this out of like virality down the line of like, all right, we're going to recruit the community. We're going to recruit the influencer. The influencer is going to recruit their community. Dare I say it's the pyramid scheme of influencer marketing.
Yeah. I mean, except that the people down the line are, of course, yes, are getting a great benefit, and yes, it does benefit the people up the pyramid.
It was funny. I was on a crisis. This was like 6 months ago. I was on like a crisis conversation about a brand who was basically engaged. They were like, oh, everyone's getting mad at us for doing all this influencer stuff, and they were like, how can we do a trip for the community or whatever? And it was like, they had this like beautiful office space with like a creator space and whatever. And I was like, you have an office that you can literally just invite people to. Like if you want to like engage your community, you are in a major metropolitan area. You have a place that people would love to come with like they also have like employees that are doing EGC that people know. And I'm like, you could literally host like a lunch and have so much goodwill with your community, even just with the surrounding area. If you had 20 slots and then you just brought some fucking Panera bread, like it doesn't have to be that real. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, is it has to be some big thing. People just want to engage or feel like they're even part of the conversation. And if you do have a cool thing where it's like, hey, you get to be part of our new product debut, and then we're going to give you everyone a free gift bag of cool stuff, and you're going to get a nice lunch. That's a $1,000, couple $1,000 initiative to engage community that if you are have any level of like, I don't know, I just feel like this is so much easier than people make it.
I think on that point, there's this thing that when an ideal like that is presented, a lot of like companies or brands will be like, oh, well, all right, now we need like a planning committee for this, and let's like do it over a 3-month timeline, and what are all the pieces that we need? And I think back to like when Oren and I like, number one, first met up for the first time. It was like last summer. We were in LA. We were out there for Canva. We were staying at the same hotel together. Our wives were like, you guys are in LA. You have this like audience in LA. Why don't you tell people to just like come to the proper and like get coffee? And we're like, no, we got to plan it. And they're like, literally just post it right now. And so we posted it that day, and we're like, hey, come get coffee with us at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning on a Saturday, and just hang out. And like 40 people came through.
It was a security problem.
It did become like
it was. I was concerned the whole time because of how mobbed the place was. It was
yes, slight issue, but there was like no planning there. We got the food, and then
exactly. No planning, and like, because like, what's the worst? I was like, literally, we're just buying food and drinks, right? Like, I ran up like a $200 tab. That was like the extent of the problem of that. It was again, this is just how easy it can be, especially if you have any personality or anything level attached. So what do we have next on here?
Fortunately, you don't have a legal team who would make you sign waivers and all kinds of stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. The hotel's going to worry about that, bro.
That concludes our segment on like events, like relevant events. And now we have like, I think three items that are digital cut through, like things that cut through digitally in the last month that we're paying attention to. The first one here, I think, is Steve Madden going viral on the Cutting Room Floor paywalled podcast. Oren, you want to give some context on this one?
Steve Madden went viral on the Cutting Room Floor, which is like a popular podcast, but a paywalled, locked-in podcast. Like you can't just like get to a bunch of the info on it. He gave a really candid interview, that really resonated with people, about people duplicating his product, about like all the various kind of things that he's gone through with his brand. And it became so popular from the clips on TikTok and then just the tastemakers that listen to Cutting Room Floor, then like distributing the idea that it has been like a renaissance for the brand and generated a huge amount of sales and like made Steve Madden relevant again, which is something I don't think any of us would ever say. But what I want to call out about this is that it's the power of that locked audience, right? Where people be like, oh, well, he's on a podcast. Like, if what you're saying is good, you put someone out there from the brand, they go on this podcast press tour or whatever. If they actually say something powerful, it's gonna have this virality. But also, what I love about podcasts like the Cutting Room Floor, and this is the same thing we're doing here with the Brandfathers, is like if you have that audience of a couple thousand, whether there's thousands or tens of thousands of people in an exact niche, and you want to get a point across for them, and they resonate so much that they help propel that culturally, you have so much opportunity that matters more again than like, oh, we need to go on a podcast that gets 500,000 views each time.
Yeah, Antonio, can you tap the audio? Let's listen to a little bit of this to see like the comments.
Was this Aaliyah?
Alaya. Good job.
It is,
Yes.
right? Do you think that some of my girls even know who Aaliyah is?
Yeah, they know the name.
Yeah.
This is the next one. I know you know this one, Steve.
I have made so many of these shoes. Obviously, we know who it is. It's one of the greatest shoes in the world. It changed a little bit.
Who's the originator?
It's Hermes.
Hermes. Okay, good. 2 for 2. You know. A third classic.
Come on, silly girl. So I love those shoes. Those inspired by Chanel. Some of those shoes.
Inspired by. Okay, good job. Okay, this one.
This is not a copy. We do a
Stop.
lot of. No, it's not.
Okay.
We do a lot of versions of the shoe, many more than they do.
Who's they?
Gucci, of course.
Good job. Okay,
And,
3 for 3.
We do our own versions of these shoes.
You just don't have fur on
I,
yours.
I love the fur.
Yeah.
I have made it with
It's an
fur.
interesting conversation for a Duke brand
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah. It is interesting. So I think, okay, it's like there's a couple of things here. Like one, he's an interesting founder. He's wearing like a Yankees hat and a black tee. Like he's not, you know,
He's on his Ralph Lauren, you know?
it's not some like PR tour where he has some manager over his shoulder. You know, he's obviously very candid and comfortable. I also think like it's I don't know. It's like acknowledging the elephant in the room, which I think a lot of people tend to appreciate. And if you could see these comments here, I mean, dude, the comments have like 300,000 likes on them on a video.
Because what he's doing, no one ever talks about something like oh, I'm a dupe brand or I'm making this thing affordable. But also there's a lot of women, as you can see here, who are like, yeah, I'm really happy to be able to buy the $80 version of the $700 Gucci shoes. And that is a wonderful thing for me in my life. And I get to celebrate that experience inside this TikTok comment section with a million other people who feel the same way.
Absolutely incredible. So yeah, and I think we describe it as you alluded here, like we describe our audience as like a valuable audience that's quality over quantity. We're not always going for quantity. And there's a great lesson to be learned there for even marketers who I think generally are always trying to go for quantity. So if you were to try to sponsor a podcast, you might say, oh, this is paywall. They don't have that much, you know, whatever, but they know their audience and it's a highly engaged one.
Look, we deal with this all the time. I think we see when people look at, like, there are even views on the kind of campaigns that we get. I was having this conversation with a brand the other day where they were showing me the other influencers. I asked what other influencers were doing a campaign I was on. They were showing them to me. And I was like, hey, I actually wouldn't use like half of these because like they talk about marketing-ish stuff, but they're kind of just putting up views. It's not content for marketers. It's content that's like about those topics, like more like culturally forward. And I'm like, you actually would really be better off with, I was showing them Brian Bloom's account because he's got like, I don't know, he's got like 50,000 followers or something, and so people have 500. I'm like, look at the numbers and then look at the nature. Like, it's a breakdown of a thing, which is what you want. And I'm like, but they just, again, it's like that hasn't crossed over yet. And I think it will take a while, right? Because anything that requires nuance means an agency that's pushed for time isn't going to do it. An employee that's doing 4 jobs isn't going to dive down deep, and they're just going to keep choosing the thing. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're giving me PTSD, but I have my 3-year anniversary of leaving corporate. I think tomorrow. It's a cause for celebration because you're exactly.
Are we throwing a party? You know what I mean? You're gonna hop into Slacks, just random Slacks all day, just to feel like something again.
Never heard of a Slack. That little gives me like just I never want to hear that again.
Microsoft Teams now, brother. You want to get even worse.
No. I was working with an agency, and they're like, we're on a Slack channel. I was like, oh, sorry about that. I'll miss you.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, totally.
It's like when Teams is part of the onboarding. I'm like, oh, well, he may miss me on that one. Feel free to FaceTime me at midnight, though. Let's do one more, because I got a bump here in 5. Let's do the Burger King FIFA one. This one's legendary.
Okay. This was sent to me by freaking hundreds of people. So I should probably cover it at some point. But Burger King and their agency, whoever it is, I would love to shout them out. But
When's the last time you guys had a Whopper? Just start there.
2013.
I can't remember the last time.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever eaten at Burger King once I left the island. That's like 20 years, but it's just setting the stage here. Go ahead.
30 years. So this is not the video, but they sponsored FIFA. Oh yeah, here it is. This kid's breaking it down. But so this requires someone who like understands the video game inherently and the way that it is. So Burger King had a future thought where, okay, all these brands are going to like Fortnite now in the top video game. So FIFA, to be able to sponsor FIFA, if you went directly to them, it would probably, cost you, I don't know, some hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe $1 million. So what they did was they found a like fourth level, like the lowest level of soccer that can participate in that game. And they sponsored that team like 2 years out, knowing that FIFA 26 was going to be coming out ahead of the World Cup. And so they sponsored this low-level team out of England. And in the game, you can take any team and build your like all-star team. So you can build it from the ground up. So you can get Messi, Cristiano, Mbappe, whoever, and you can put them all there. So
this is fucking genius.
It is genius. So they sponsored this football club to get their logo on their shirt, which was probably, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars, maybe 100, who knows. And then they incentivized their following to go play this game and to win with this low-level team, and they would earn like free food and rewards and all that. And so all these gamers are then putting Messi on the team, Cristiano, and so now they have these huge faces that are now, beating everybody up with Messi, Cristiano, and all the most famous soccer clubs wearing their logo. And it's huge. It's right up front. And that's a problem in sports sponsorship these days, where you don't even see the team name anymore, the team crest. You just see like a giant logo of Emirates Airlines or Spotify, which is particularly invasive in soccer. But it's really smart. It's really clever. And shout out to whoever their agency is who had this insight.
Because this was like this is one of those where they're sitting in a meeting and being like, look, we're going to reap the benefits of this in 24 months. It's like some deep cut. And then when they actually had to roll out, it was a way different rollout than whatever they planned. Because obviously, like, TikTok has changed. This is savagery, and whoever did this, touche.
I think this is a work of Nathan Fielder. And for anyone listening, if you have not watched Nathan For You, if you've not watched the rehearsal, you want to understand what good, absolutely brilliant marketing looks like, he's the guy.
Yeah, it is very similar to that.
Ashwin, you feel like a very like Nathan Felder school of marketing. I feel like that's like the world overlap there.
People are like, oh, do you like Rory Sutherland, David Ogilvy? No, I just watch Nathan Fielder.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, shout out to somebody who's like planned something far in advance, doesn't just try to ride the topical wave. Like, that's a deep cut. And whoever like listened to that kid, or whoever, I'm gonna assume that it's like some deep gamer, someone who's closer to young than they are older, to play the long game is really, really clever.
You're just one person with a vision. That's it.
Well, I will shout out. All of us have played the long game. All of us one day said, hey, as 30s men, we are going to start making short form videos on the internet, and we're not going to stop until we are shockingly wealthy and we get to just do whatever we want. And guess what? We played the fucking long game, and now we're here on the Brandfathers.
We're still playing it.
Dude, we're still playing it. Yeah.
You don't even know what this game looks like
on this hamster wheel.
It's a 5-year.
No, I mean, anyway, it's absolutely incredible. Anything of note before we got to jump. So Nova Nix was smart. Oh, Jaguar. Hey, shocker. Jaguar searching for a new agency.
Yeah. So I was at this panel yesterday, and I think maybe it was like Seth Godin. It was like someone talking about Jaguar, and they were just like, the whole summit was about like listening to customers and how like no brands and marketers just like listen to their customers. And if you looked at any like Jaguar reviews or like cared about voice of the customer, you'd say that every Jaguar customer was like, hey, the reliability on this car sucks. And if they addressed that, that was the core issue that they needed to solve. Instead, they're like, new look, new name, new car model, and let's just go to a totally different audience. And you take so many like bold bets and different swings where, okay, let's abandon the original audience that like cared about our product and probably would have kept buying it if we just like fixed reliability issues. But these guys were like, no, let's throw everything out.
Do either of you guys know anyone that drives a Jaguar?
No, but I drive a Land Rover who's also owned by
All
them.
owned by them. But that's a totally different. I know one person, and I'm not going to call him out because I make fun of him publicly too much. But man, it's
Land
like,
Force. If it's
they
Land
got a
Force,
bigger, tangential, Land Force, exactly. Yeah.
Look, the other great crime of this, I just wrote like a 2,000 word newsletter on this that I just sent out an hour or two ago, is like Caitlin Clark. Nike is just like ignoring Caitlin Clark. All their customers are asking for, like every person in the sports universe is asking for Caitlin Clark. They're like, no,
It's actually crazy.
What's that?
It's actually crazy.
It is like a crime. Like this is a crime to their shareholders. Like they are down 60% to 2021, and they have the largest marketing unicorn in history, short of Michael Jordan in basketball. And they're just like, nope, I don't know. How about Asia Wilson? Like, how about Sabrina Ionescu? You're like, what are you doing? I'm sorry.
All right. So sadly, I have to go do actual marketing. But on that note, Nike, feel free to hire Jordan for some consults. As Ashwin says, listen to your customers, and we will see y'all next week on.
We've got a retail episode next. Yes, we'll do these monthly recaps once a month. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,